Welcome back to 405 Sports. Today we are talking about UFC 298. This is the second pay-per-view of the year. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, we're going to start out with the main event. We have Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Now, this is what I, titled the video. Are people underestimating Alexander Volkanovski? And I think they are. You have to realize, 12 days notice to fly from Australia to Abu Dhabi, okay, to take on the number one or number two, however you think, pound-for-pound fighter in the world who had been dominating everyone. And the only person that he hadn't dominated was Alexander Volkanovski on a full camp and everything. So here's the thing. You can take that loss and you can say, I'm not sure how I feel about Volkanovski. I'm not sure how I feel, and that's fine. I get that. But at the same time, if that doesn't happen, how are you talking going into this fight? Are you saying, oh, Ilia Topuria is just a Conor McGregor wannabe who's going to not finish the job and Volk's just going to walk through him, People also had this talk before the Yair fight. Before the Yair fight, people were like, hey, man, Yair's being slept on, what he did to Josh Emmett was very impressive, that submission. And you can say the same thing about Topuria because that was one of the most lopsided fights we've ever seen in the UFC, and you can say that about Topuria. But at the same time, we are talking about Alexander Volkanovski. The guy was the number one pound for pound for a reason. He beat Max Holloway 3 times, and you could argue 251, I'll always say it, was a very, very close fight, okay? But other than that fight, in the featherweight division, he's dominated. He got a little caught by Ortega, had no problems against Yair. Yair never really had, the true chance like Ortega did, like Max did, So, we're talking about Alexander Volkanovski, okay? Alexander Volkanovski, in my opinion, is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Not just one of the best featherweights of all time. Not just one of, best fighters. I think he is one of the greatest fighters of all time because he's everywhere. He's got good wrestling. He has great striking, He's good everywhere. He really is. Now let's talk about Ilia. Not that Ilia hasn't fought the greatest amount of competition because he has fought for pretty good competition. Obviously, Bryce Mitchell fight was a little weird, Obviously, the Jai Herbert fight, very weird. Caught with a left high kick. And no one expected that. What a knockout he had there. Got to give him that. But this guy he came into the UFC as a bantamweight. He was supposed to fight Petr Yan in 2020, but it fell through, obviously. This guy's had a lot of cancellations, just not a lot of fights. I just don't love the way he's going into this fight. Yes, you can say he mirrors Conor in a way, but the thing about Conor, he wasn't walking around against Jose Aldo, walking around with the belt, oh, this looks nice, it's gonna be mine in a couple of days. No, he wrapped it on his shoulder and was like, hey, look, hey Jose, it's my belt, Topuria is doing it behind the scenes and is like, look, hey, guys, look, this is gonna be my belt in a couple of days, talking to his boys, his yes men, if you will. So I don't know, I don't like the whole, I don't like Topuria's whole way of going into this. Obviously, he's selling the fight and he's making this bigger for himself because obviously if he loses this fight, it's not the end of the world, right? He still has a great opportunity and he can move up to lightweight and be great there too. So, but I think if Volk wants to win this fight, it's the leg kicks, no doubt about it. And he's got to have Topuria. If Topuria wants to win, he's got to set up his shots right. He can't just go in there crazy. So I'm going to take Volkanovski, though. I'm going to take Volkanovski. But we got Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Everyone's shocked we made it. We haven't made it just yet. But obviously, they both made weight. So we should be good, right? Anyways, Robert Whittaker has been pretty dang active, if you ask me. Fought at 290. Fought at what? He was supposed to fight Costa at 284. Obviously, that fell through. And I don't know. I just don't love the inactivity from Costa. Obviously, he was supposed to fight at 91 against Ikram Aliskerov. He was supposed to fight Chimaev at 94. Neither of those went through. So he just hasn't been active since, I think, 278 against Rockhold, if I'm remembering correctly. But, Robert Whittaker is just like Volkanovski. He literally is great everywhere. There's a reason this guy was the champ, And Paulo Costa is good, but I don't know how you don't find a finish against Luke Rockhold, who seemingly turned his back to you. I don't get that. I think Costa is great. He sells the fight great. he was great at the press conference. Let's not take away from the fact that he walked over to Volkanovski while Volkanovski was dozing off and was like, "Hey, wake up!" That was great. He pushed Ian Garry off the side. Costa's great. Costa definitely had a PR guy. Probably has a PR guy that came up to him. He was like, "Dude, it's not going great, but we need to just invest in the goofiness," and it has worked out. It has worked out great. I mean, the secret juice is great. I just don't see a way besides finding the finish, kind of like Duplessis found against Robert Whittaker, that Paulo Costa can win this fight. I don't think he can win by decision. I don't think it's possible. Robert Whittaker is very good in whether that's 3 rounds or 5 rounds. He's good either way. So if it's Robert, it's gonna be by decision probably. If it's Costa, it's probably by finish. It really probably is. And I think Costa will have the chance to set those up, but he can't go crazy. That's the thing about Costa is he can't go too crazy because then guess what? He'll find himself kind of like the Izzy fight possibly and get himself caught. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal versus Ian Machado Garry. So funny. Just the MMA fan base is definitely one of the most toxic fan bases that I see. I feel like if you were to rank them, I think they would be one. I don't know who would be higher, NBA or MLB or NFL of those 3. I don't know who would be the highest of those 3. But, I think the UFC is probably the worst because it's funny because you have these guys who are, roasting Ian Machado Garry, but yet they praise a guy like Sean O'Malley, who I like both of them. I find both of them, they're great fighters. I find them fun. But yet, one is praised and one is hated, and it's so crazy how quick it flipped. It is really crazy for that. But we got a great fight here. I have seen this a lot by everybody in the media. Machado Garry looks a little weird. He's going vegan now, and that's the downside to Ian Garry in this fight. Is he doesn't look like he has that muscle mass, but at the same time, he is training with Shudo Box in Brazil with Charles Oliveira and a bunch of great guys down there, and that is a great camp. That's one of the best camps. That is a camp that is purely it's not yes men. It's guys who are gonna make you work, okay, and guys who are gonna help you with your faith and everything. That is a great camp to be around. They're a great camp to get you a great training camp. So I'm gonna take Ian Machado Garry. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal though, definitely no guy to play around with. It's not a guy where you can go in there and mess around. You have got to bring the A game. And Ian has got to protect that chin. I don't know what the thing is with these Cage Warriors guys, but it seems like they come into these UFC fights and they just don't protect their chins very well. I'm not dissing on no Cage Warriors guys, but Paddy Pimblett's a great example. Does not protect the chin very well. He keeps it up. Same with Ian at times. At times he's not as bad, but Jeff Neal is no guy to play around with, and he's not Neil Magny, but he is definitely like Neil Magny, where it's this is a veteran that you can't mess around with. Here's a fight that I think is very easy to predict, and that's Henry Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili. Here's the thing. If a guy says that this is his last fight if he loses, he's 1 foot out the door. He's 1 foot out the door. Also, Merab just went through a whole training camp with a guy who just beat Henry Cejudo. Him and Aljo are both in training camp right now. Merab obviously a little earlier, and obviously it's a heavier Aljo because Aljo's a 45er now. But they're both in training camp, okay? And he just beat this guy, Henry Cejudo. Or Aljo just beat him. So they obviously know how to build this camp. This camp was very well built. I don't think this is going to be like the Piotr Jan fight. I don't know what kind of fight this might be like. It could be like his fight with Marlon Moraes, where he's hurt, but I think he, rallies through and finds a way to get the win. It could be like that. I'm not sure how to think about this fight. Also, Henry Cejudo hasn't fought in a 3-round fight since 2017, okay? Sometimes some people would argue 3-rounder fights are harder for some fighters, but that's because it's hard for you to set things up. And a lot of fans will never understand. They're like, in a main event, they're like, why are they starting so slow? And it's well, they're a 5-round fight. The guys we were watching earlier only have to go 15 minutes. These guys are going for 25. So that's another thing is Henry Cejudo, you're not going to have all the time in the world to think about round 4 and 5, right? You're going to have to think, I only have 1, 2, and 3. So things setting up have to be set up at the beginning and from either you need to set it up first round or you need to know going into the second and third, that's what I need to do to win these rounds. So I don't see a way that this fight is 50-50 in my book. I just think when a guy is 1 foot out the door, I never like that, especially Henry. He's been very 1 foot out the door. On the other side, the press conference between these two, just something clicked with Henry Cejudo that made him look like, just like a new fire almost when Merab pulled out the Mexican flag. So that did sway my decision before making this video. Another thing is Merab admitted, hey, this guy is a better wrestler than me. Plain and simple. He's like, I'm a good wrestler. I'm a great wrestler. But this guy is a gold medal wrestler, So Merab did admit that. So I don't know. I'm still rocking Merab in this fight, but I wouldn't be shocked one bit if Henry Cejudo won this fight. Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. Now, if you know your UFC, if you know your MMA, these two are basically like on the same par with fans that they are the dark horses of this middleweight division. Kopylov 4-fight win streak. Hernandez 4-fight win streak. Both guys are very good. Both guys are really big for the weight class too. I saw a lot of people making fun of Chase Hooper, saying that Roman Kopylov is just a Russian version of him. Thought that was pretty good, but it's a great fight on paper. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Anthony Hernandez. This fight was also supposed to be Ikram Aliskerov against Anthony Hernandez. Roman filled in on. You say short notice, but he had 5 weeks, I think, if not more than that. I could be wrong, but it's a great fight on paper. I don't agree with the minus 245, plus 200. That's a big swing, but it's going to be a good fight. I think I'm going to take Anthony Hernandez. Ever since the Kevin Holland loss, he's really picked it up. And Kopylov has looked good at times, also not looked as good. So I'm going to take Anthony Hernandez in this one. He's also rocking the hometown crowd, so they should know. They should get behind him. Thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below who you think is going to win between Ilia Topuria and Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Thank you for watching.